All right, welcome back everyone to episode 3 of the Datsun 280z teardown. Turn the camera on toward the end here. We've already power washed underneath the car. We're really just trying to get rid of as much loose grease and sediment and dirt and all that jazz before this car becomes a roller and becomes a little bit harder to move in and out of the garage. We just quick cleaned up the outside, but it was promptly covered in sawdust from some other projects. But you can see my friend's 370 Nismo and another friend's 300 there in the garage, or in the road, excuse me. So big shout out to them, as well as they've continued to come through and help me out on doing this for the first time. Today we're going through the interior more, so everyone's taking an eye looking at that hole again that we've talked about in the previous episode. That's kind of the first one that we found, besides the frame rails, which is really the impetus for bringing this down to bare metal. But working on getting the rear hatch disconnected. This is one of those jobs that just is so much easier when you have more than one person. You can see we're just using a 2x4 to keep it from falling down. The wife even came out and decided to see what was going on there for a second. But anyway, many hands make light work. That was definitely the case here. No way I could have done that by myself, or at least not done it easily. It's not necessarily the heaviest, but it's just kind of awkward trying to get those hinges off and also keep holding it up since the pistons were disconnected. Here we're moving on to the interior. As we saw before, the passenger side is mostly pulled out. At least the seat, the amp the previous owner had put in got taken out. You can see some of the wiring we cut. That will I don't think we're going to reinstall that. Not really sure what we're going to do about the audio, if anything. That is a decision for a much later time. But essentially, we're going through pulling out the carpets. So we are down to metal on the passenger side. Well, technically there's still the sound deadening, which will be coming up here in a few episodes. But trying to get all of the plastic interior body panels off, or what's left that we didn't get to before. These are actually in really good shape, and I think with the exception of maybe one of them is actually in really good shape. So we were trying to be very careful not to break them or crack them or do anything so that we couldn't reuse them. So that was really nice to find. No major issues there. You can see we were one of my buddies was pulling off some of the vinyl trim or vinyl covering on the front of the wheel well, rear wheel well on the right there. That will all be replaced, and there you go. You got the driver's side there. That'll all be replaced with new. Not sure exactly how we'll go through that, but we did keep all of this stuff. I'm pretty much keeping everything so that we have templates for any fabrics if I do decide to make those myself. We can see, obviously, we got the driver's side caught up to the passenger side, and just looking through, getting the seat belts off, and looking through some of the initial wiring. This car also had an aftermarket, I don't think it really shows up here yet, but it had an aftermarket AC condenser compressor setup that had its own control outside of the standard climate controls in the car. So that is an additional bit of wiring that we had to try to figure out. I'm still torn. I know I'm in Texas, and not having AC is pretty bad. The AC has never worked in the car, so I already did one summer with it. Not really sure if I'm going to replace it. If I do, it'll be a completely separate unit, so I didn't worry too much about keeping that aftermarket part, or it may have been dealer installed. I'm not 100% sure, but wasn't too worried about the wiring, and did just a lot of chopping when it came to the AC wiring. One of the things we did find in the wiring harness down in the passenger side there is some of the wires had been exposed and shorted, which is probably the cause of the reverse lights not working. Everything else kind of tested okay when we were trying to figure that out maybe a year before this. So that explains that. And that's going to wrap this up, guys. Thanks for watching.